All right, baby. We are live. We are live. I'm Emerson Lotzius, sliding into the host chair today for Glash. He is preoccupied, I'm sure, cooking something on the grill that's going to look dry and tasteless, Jeff Ulrich. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing good, man. Yeah. Glasheen was tweeting he was at the dentist today or something as well.
Yeah.
So, but who knows? I mean, he probably had an early barbecue appointment. So
yeah, 100%.
He loves to grill, that guy.
He loves the grill, and he occasionally struggles to talk about golf. So this is going to be good. You and I, 2/3 of the golf gurus, we invited Reed to kind of come along and join the party and say, let's do 2 out of 3 days together and talk nothing but the Players Championship. But he was also a little busy. And just real quick reaction to Scotty Scheffler winning the Arnold Palmer, dude.
Yeah, no, I mean, fun event, fun ending couple days if you like tough golf. I mean, I find it more entertaining. Some people find it, it's like it's too variance filled, or there's too much going on, and they don't. I like tough courses. I mean, there gets to a point where it gets ridiculous, but I don't think it was too ridiculous last week. Scotty Scheffler, man, striping it. He's kind of been striping it since the Farmers and like his first start of the year. That putter is heating up. Just a player who I think people just maybe forgot about the upside that Scotty Scheffler had when he was coming out of college. Like, he was right up there with like Wolf and Morikawa and those guys in terms of winning. He came out a year earlier than them, but I mean, this dude is going to be around for a while. He's going to have a really long career, and his game too, like he's just kind of one of those dudes that does like everything well. Maybe he doesn't have like quite the irons that Morikawa does, although lately his irons have been fire. He's a straight hitter. He doesn't bomb it like Bryson, but he's really straight off the tee. And his short game is kind of like it's a little more refined than I think some of the younger guys. So I think this dude could surprise and like win way more majors than people realize, I think, just because of that.
I mean, hell, if he keeps this up, he could be player of the year from his first PGA Tour win. That was in Phoenix, right? And then he backed it up with, where was he? Top 10 at Genesis, and he claimed victory number 2 of his career at Bay Hill.
I mean, and I'm not trying to pump his tires too much. People have been doing that a lot. He's obviously started the season hot, but I'm just saying, I think he deserves to be grouped with those guys. Maybe he's, you could rank him a little bit lower than like Morikawa, who's already got 2 majors, or even Hovland, but he's definitely in that, like, well-deserving to be mentioned with those guys. And I think he's finally proven that. So that's cool for him.
I am very excited for this week. By the way, thanks for the props on Scotty Scheffler. That's kind of why I was teeing you up. I didn't really want to know all the nuts and bolts. Yeah, it was my pick to win, everybody. This is why you listen to me. This is why now Jeff has accepted me and officially crowned me the 3rd golf guru. Something I've worked really hard for. Earned your stripes. Okay, dude, I love this week. I grew up going to this tournament. My folks live like 10 minutes away from there. It is amazing. Unfortunately, it is. The weather's going to be absolute ass. It is. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, it looks terrible. Sunday looks great, but cool and crisp. Couple reports out of Jacksonville, though, like the on-course meteorologist there, he is optimistic about a Sunday finish. This one doesn't go to a Monday finish too often. I think last time was 2005 here, dude. But this morning on the Sweat, I asked you, I said, all right, is there a type of golfer, knowing that the weather is going to be nasty? It's going to be raining quite a bit. These guys are going to play through it as long as there is no lighting. I asked you, is there a specific golfer you kind of look for, maybe to stack or, to roster in DFS or sports betting? And, you mentioned, I think Russell Knox was one of the guys, right? I think Russell Knox was a guy that you liked. Yep. And it's funny reading some of the quotes already from these golfers about the weather that we are expecting in Ponte Vedra Beach this week. Russell Knox quoted saying, "I grew up in Scotland. I hope it blows 25 miles per hour and pours rain." And then you got a guy like Paul Casey. He's like, "I don't like the rain. There's a reason I moved from England to Arizona." So who is the type of golfer that you were looking for this week? And how does this weather impact what you decide to do in DFS and betting?
So, I mean, you have to let it impact you too much. I mean, ultimately, like the best players are still the best players in the rain. I mean, ball striking, the guys who get their irons crisper, it's just going to cut through the bad weather better, right? I mean, but there is like a little bit of just type of player that I think you can more gravitate towards. And I think a couple things are, if a player is hitting his short irons well on TPC Sawgrass, I mean, it's just going to mean less missed greens, right? So all of a sudden, like a guy like Russell Knox, who already is hitting the ball extremely well. He's going to be, more enhanced by the poor weather. And I mean, obviously the fact that he grew up in a place in Europe where he, is used to playing in bad weather, I think that only helps. But short game, I think, is the other thing to really go overweight on here. I mean, everyone's going to be missing more greens. Like, it's cold weather.
Yep.
You're going to have longer approaches in. The greens might be softer, but I don't think the soft greens are going to be the thing that people are talking about. I think that the rain going to make the ball fly less. And then just because it's cooler, way cooler. Like, we're talking for my Canadian folks, we're talking 12 degrees Celsius highs on the weekend, man, like mid low 50s. So, that ball striking gets enhanced. But I mean, I really think guys who are around the green specialists have a shot here. I think it's going to bring in more guys like Alex Noren, maybe a Russell Knox type player, although Knox around the green lately has been junk. But there are players who are good iron players. You can just get hot around the greens here that I think are going to perhaps, really benefit from this.
Yeah, the course does drain really well, which is why some of the guys are saying that they will have a Sunday finish. There were some the playing surface was given a wholesale renovation, I think back in 2016 or whatever, some kind of special soil. Anywho, all right, we'll start here in fantasy. There is a Millie Maker this week, dude. I think it's the first golf Millie Maker of the year. It is a big deal because this tournament typically brings the strongest field of the season, even majors. I think only about 3 of the top 50 in the world are missing this. Phil, DeChambeau, and I can't remember the other one. But anywho, 5 guys, 10K. It's going to cost you at least 10K. Is this a week of stars and scrubs? What is your strategy this week, and which one of these at least guys who are at least 10K are you going to roster?
So, I mean, on major weeks and weeks where we have big events, I mean, typically the pricing, everyone moves down a notch, right? So what it tends to do is it's almost impossible to get away from balanced builds here, because I mean, just right off the top, the guy we're talking about, Scotty Scheffler, he's 9,200. You look at Scotty Scheffler and who he's around. I mean, you've got, Dustin Johnson, 9,800, Xander, Matsuyama. I mean, Scheffler's outproduced all these players, right? So you can just go ahead and get the guy who's won twice now in his last 3 starts for 9,200. You can go below him and go with Daniel Berger, a top 20 player who just about won his last start. And you've still got an $8,000 salary left. And I mean, that's just the start of it. I mean, we've got this at every range. You've got players who we're used to seeing, Scotty Scheffler was 10-6 last week. Berger was I think he was 10-4 the last time we saw him. We've got a guy down here in Taylor Gooch who, was what was he at this event, Emerson? You were texting me or no, it was Reed actually. I think he was T5 here last year.
Yeah. He had that final round, I think 66 or 67. We talked about it this morning. Yeah.
I mean, Taylor Gooch, obviously won the RSM T10 last week. I mean, he's playing great golf, and he's 7,200 after being, way up there in the salary last week. You can just do this at every level. And so I think what it leads to is more people just say that they just kind of ignore certain ranges. Instead of starting with John Rahm and Morikawa, and then looking to fill in a couple sub 7K guys with couple sub 7K guys, excuse me. You're going to have more lineups that start with maybe a Hovland or a JT, but more likely a Scheffler and someone else, and maybe a Xander or something. So it's going to be more of that. But lots of different ways to differentiate. That's the beautiful thing about this. You can get super wild because there are playable players down here, man. I mean, absolutely. And we'll get to them, but everyone's price gets compressed, right? Not just the top dudes. There's players under here, under 7K who we were talking about in the 7K or mid 7K range the last couple of weeks. And, a lot of them have good upside. The other thing is, this is the players. This is an event where we've seen David Lingmerth finish second.
Yeah.
The Duke of Earl, Ken Duke, went on a run here and then finished run up. Jim Furyk at the age of 69 or whatever, finished runner up 2 years ago. I mean, crazy things happen. Last year was Lee Westwood. So, you'll see someone like that. And I think for big fields, you need to get aggressive. because there are going to be a lot of balanced lineups if you choose that route.
Yeah, I think Jim Furyk has competed like a few times here. We've seen Freddie Couples kind of hang in there, like even in when he was on the back nine of his PGA Tour career. But you're right; they've been old and young. There's been some journeymen. There's been some studs. There's been some stars. I feel like a lot of people, including myself, are pretty high on Collin Morikawa this week. Do you like the fact that? Do you like some of these guys who are coming in who didn't play the Arnold Palmer? Or do you prefer maybe someone who has a little bit of momentum after what they did in Orlando?
So last year, we did see a lot of the top players from Orlando, from Bay Hill, do really well at this event.
Yep.
Like Westwood and Bryson, both were, I think they were both like runner up. Like they were like first and second at Bay Hill. And I think
Bryson
finished like second and third or something at the players. So there's definitely something to that. Like, I mean, I would not write off guys who finished in the top 5 last week. In fact, I think you should overweight them. But, on the other hand of that, Justin Thomas didn't play Bay Hill last year. So you don't need to write off players who didn't play last week. I do think what you do need to look for, especially with the top players, is, they don't need to have like won or even like come close to winning in their last event. But most of the winners here and most of the guys who do well, they're not like searching for their games. They're not like playing so inconsistently that they're coming off like a missed cut.
Yeah.
In fact, no winner here over the last decade has been coming off a missed cut to win this event. So most guys have been coming off like at least the top 20 finish to give you some kind of idea of that. Obviously, Morikawa here coming off the second place at the Genesis. That's completely fine. It's only going to be his second players. I think that's the only thing you'd worry about with Morikawa. I mean, there's nothing to fear by rostering a guy like him. It's just this venue, and I can't stress this enough, it's super variance filled. And every top player here has like some kind of bad miscut, or almost every player.
Yes.
And if they don't have a bad miscut, they have like a bad finish, like a T50, because things can go so awry so quickly here that like it almost just skews your results. So, Morikawa is interesting, just like Victor Hovland is interesting, but I wouldn't like stress him being like the must play there for me. I prefer, if I'm being dead honest, I prefer going up to Jon Rahm. I mean, he's played here more. He's been in contention here down the back nine. He's made some mistakes here in the past, which I think is good, because you need to get them out. You need to realize what kind of course TPC Sawgrass is. And Jon Rahm has gone through, the ringer here. I mean, he made and quite frankly, an idiotic decision to hit a long iron out of a bunker into a par 5, covered by water. Like this was like the year Rory won. And I don't think
is this 2019? Because that was when he had
caddy was trying to talk him out of it, right?
That was that epic final round meltdown that he had, for sure.
It was, and it was one of the strangest decisions I've ever seen, because I think everybody, like pros and amateurs alike, were just like, "What? How are you even considering this?" It was like a 220-yard hook out of a trap across water. Like it had no
Not great, Bob.
So, anyways, it's one of those things where he definitely learned from, though. And you look at what Jon Rahm's done his last 3 events, everything is fine. It's just the around the green game and the putter just hasn't been as sharp as it needs to be to compete. And when that flips, he's going to compete. And he's probably going to win because he's Jon Rahm. So I like going all the way up there. I think you'll see less ownership just because of, like I said, there's so many people who will just want to just load up on some mid-range guys that I don't think Rahm will be under-owned, but I would prefer going to him probably over, at least
over Morikawa.
At least the first 2 guys below him. Yes. And that includes Morikawa.
Yeah, I know you mentioned Morikawa's last year, his debut. I know to him, disappointing T41, but he really is the kind of guy who's gonna block that out of his memory. And he's going to focus more on the fact that he shot a final round 66 last year for Collin. But then there are other guys in their debut last year. I think it was Hovland and Scheffler as well, who missed the cut, like in their debuts at TPC Sawgrass last year.
Scheffler definitely missed the cut. I can't remember what Hovland did, but I'll look it up really quickly. What did he do here?
Yeah. He missed the cut last year.
He did too. Okay. So, and look, I mean, Scheffler definitely, like, I mean, I'm not worried about Scheffler's lack of experience or the fact he missed the cut last year. Like I said, most top guys have a missed cut. He's playing really well. His around the green game is good. He's got confidence with the putter, but it does speak to the fact that TPC Sawgrass is an event where, like if you're a little bit inexperienced around the greens, or you're just not or you're a little bit inconsistent, like it will bite you. And I mean, even Morikawa, just looking at his stats from last year, he lost major strokes around the greens here. And he probably recovered with just like a really good round late, but he could have easily been in that group. And I'm looking at Victor's, stats from last year. His approach game wasn't there, and he lost 2.6 strokes around the green in 2 rounds. That's what the danger of TPC Sawgrass is. So, yeah, and again, I think it's just going to get stressed more this year with the bad weather, which I'm almost expecting like a weird type of winner this year. I mean, again, I'm not saying you have to play like a lineup of 6 guys at like under 7,500 or something, but I do feel like you could get a winner from like this 75 to like 7K range for sure.
Okay. Cause I texted you and Reed over the weekend, and I was thinking, so I said Morikawa and Cantley, and you go, oh yeah, way to really go out on a limb there with those guys. I said, okay, what about someone like a KOKRAK or a Connors or something? I don't know where there he is. So KOKRAK's like 7,300. I don't know where Connors is, but the reason I decided to go with some of those guys, and the issue, Corey Connors was kind of a reach, and I was looking more like sportsbook numbers, which the winners odds like aren't up right now in the DK sportsbook. Yeah, it's still like top 10, like top 5 finish, but we know Connors is one of the best iron players right now in the game. T7 at TPC Sawgrass last year. The reason I feel like I'm going on a limb on this one is because looking at his numbers, he has yet to post a top 10 this season. So I think that's also why you can get him for such a great price.
Absolutely. I mean, Connors bounced back last week. I like the way he's hitting it in the last round. He did fall apart a little bit, and his putter let him down. And again, the around the green game, the green game wasn't terrible for Connors last week. And I don't hate him at all. I mean, I think this is a player who, his tee to green game is very good, especially his ball striking. And I think he's shown, like, I can't go back far enough to show, but like he's played well at Hilton Head. He's played well at the Players before. Like I think Corey Connors and his iron play is just going to meld well with this venue over time. But we're also getting Corey Connors. I shouldn't have shut his thing down. Maybe not at the top of his game. I mean, he does have 3 cuts in his last 5 starts. Now, he did bounce back last week. If he hadn't played well last week, I probably would have just written him off here. But I think with the fact that he showed some improved ball striking, I think you can go to him here. And 7,300 is fine. I'm just not sure if he's quite there. And like the around the green game, this for him, it's just not at the level where I think he can realistically win here yet. Maybe last year, like just he was striking it so well, but he's not really striking it quite as well this year. So he's still a good value because he's only 7,300. But
I think originally he was like 65 to 1 on the sportsbook. That's what I'm saying. I was looking at some more like long shots after you're like, okay, get someone besides like some favorites in there. And I said cause for concern. He doesn't have a top 10 finish this year. And you just pointed out like a few other reasons why. And then I said, okay, how about, KOKRAK? He's a guy he's in his early 30s, kind of a late bloomer here. He has 3 wins in his last 31 PGA Tour starts.
He does.
Another guy who hasn't done much at TPC Sawgrass, Jeff, but a sneaky T9 last year.
And KOKRAK is interesting because, not only does he have that T9, but like he is a player who used to be just, he could pound it off the tee, he could get hot with his irons, but he never putted, and he was terrible around the greens. He's not like around the greens is still his most inconsistent part of his game, but it's improved to the point where obviously he's winning tournaments. And I think the biggest thing with KOKRAK is he can putt. Like he can absolutely putt the lights out now. I mean, even just looking his last few events, he really hasn't even been hitting it that well. He's just gained over 4 strokes putting. So KOKRAK, you mentioned his player's history, like the T9 from last year. I'm pretty sure that was his best finish. He had missed the cut here in 4 straight years, like before 2018. Here's the thing. He's lost strokes around the green at TPC Sawgrass in 7 straight years. So his T9 last year came off the back of some really good ball striking and some good putting. But I'll be dead honest. He's a straight fade for me this week because he's not hitting it as well as he was last year. And he's not going to get saved by his around the green game. So KOKRAK for me, I'll let other people go there. This is all just me biding times until we get to the guy I'm going to play in this range.
Okay. Well, we'll hook me up with it. Oh,
Russell Henley.
Bro, you talk,
drink it in, Emerson.
You talk about him all the time. I mean, like, I feel like you've given up on Usti, and now this is like your golden goose.
Okay, but like in all seriousness, there's not a better setup here, more perfect. We've got the poor weather for Russ, who's around the green game, has been clicking better of late. He's been gaining strokes around the green. It's been really sharp. It was really sharp last week. He gained over 2 strokes on approach in each of his last 2 rounds at the Arnold Palmer. Russ needs to putt, man. If he putts, I'm telling you, he will be there this week. I feel very confident saying that. And, you know, you can go out and make fun of me all you want, but this is the play for me in this range. I think this year is going to set up perfectly for him, a little bit tougher conditions. It'll stress tee to green more. I don't like Russ in a birdie fest where he has to sink every single putt. If the conditions are tougher, people are going to miss more putts. The around the green will be tougher. Russ will hit more greens than other people. His around the green is good, and he can hang, man. He hung with Rory at the Honda one year. He's getting close, as we've already seen. I mean,
hell, he won the Honda.
He's won the Honda before. So, and look, a couple of my trends. I mean, one trend of the past winners here has been that they've already come close. They've already recorded a top 5 finish in the calendar year leading up to the Players. Russ has that T2 or that solo playoff loss from the Sony Open. So I'm just saying, man, he is one of my favorite values. I think
that 5-shot lead.
He blew it. I'm not saying he didn't blow it. He blew it. But he's not the only guy you can play around here too. We got Siwoo.
Okay.
Siwoo's playing very good. Loves himself some Pete Dye. I'd have no problem with someone even just saying, well, I'd rather play Siwoo than Henley. I get it. But I think those 2 guys would be my favorites from there. You mentioned like the Paul Casey, he melts in rain kind of quote. That scares me a little bit. He was terrible. He's on 83.
Well, dude, I'm staying away from him because I read that quote to you earlier. He's already complaining about the weather. And today it was like mid 70s and sunshine. He's like, that's why I moved to Arizona. No, it's in his head already. Stay away from him. He will be one of the worst golfers this week. Mark my words. I don't care. Mother Nature's in his head. I'm done. I'm done with Paul Casey.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. He was T5 here last year, but
okay. The weather was great.
It's really cheap. I mean, last week, Paul Casey was like the chalk. Everyone loved him. Everyone played him. And now he's like cheap. He's somehow cheaper in a better field. And like no one's going to play him. I don't know.
Oh my God. He's probably What? I was going to say he's feast or famine. He's feast or famine here at TPC Sawgrass. You mentioned his best finish, T5 last year, going back to Paul Casey.
Yeah.
You have Sergio pulled up. But 5 finishes of T23 or better at the Players, but also 6 missed cuts and 2 withdrawals. Yeah. So I wonder which one shows up in the rain.
I mean, yeah, I don't know.
But you mentioned this. Yeah, the resume for these guys, you mentioned this. You're going to have some bad years. Some of the best golfers in the world have bad years at this course.
You know who doesn't have many bad years at this course? If any, is this guy, is Sergio. Sergio never misses the cut here, and people still don't play him. Like, he should be 100% owned this week.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
In a Millie Maker.
Oh, my God.
In a Millie. Hey, listen. It sounds like she's like, yes, Frost to Sergio this week. For sure. Hey, that's your advice that you're giving right now is so important if you're going to be part of that Millie Maker this week, folks. Yes. Like, you need people to make the weekend here. I
mean, I come to this event every year and I'm kind of just perplexed why Sergio isn't like 50% owned, because he's always around this price too. Like he never comes in. He's rarely come in off a win or anything, but yeah, I mean, he putted really well last week too. It was kind of a weird week for him at Bay Hill. He was T40. He kind of struck the ball poorly, but he putted well. But then like he's looked fine. And you know, you see he's played a couple times over in Europe, played the Genesis. So I don't know, man. Sergio will probably get you like a T25. I still think there's perhaps a little bit better upside with guys like Siwoo or Henley, but I'd be fine going to. And then there's this guy too, and I think he's interesting, Gary Woodland. Woodland has been hard to nail down. You know, he puts in like a T9 and then he misses 2 cuts. And I was thinking after the Honda where he played nicely and he kind of rallied to a Sunday top 5 finish, that he just missed a cut again and he'd go back to being like really inconsistent Gary Woodland, but he followed it up. And now I'm interested again. Like, I mean, this is a major championship winner. He's kind of learned to putt a little bit worried about his record at TPC Sawgrass. It's not great. And again, he's kind of like a better version of KOKRAK, but in a way that like around the green can just kill him. So
he's you mentioned he just fell off after that was it the US Open he won in 2019? Yeah. But I know some of it has been some health issues, but he has found his groove here on this Florida swing, dude.
Absolutely.
So he finished top 5 at the Honda. He nearly pulled out the victory on Sunday at Bay Hill before a T5 finish, but okay. Yeah, here we go. He's definitely missed more cuts than he's made at TPC Sawgrass.
Yeah. His best finish is a T11 from 2014, but 2 missed cuts in the last 3 years here. I just like Woodland would have to have like a career week around the greens to win a TPC Sawgrass. It's definitely possible, but I don't mind him for DFS. I think he's playing well enough, especially tee to green, that he could definitely get a made cut. And I would probably even prefer him slightly over Sergio in GPPs. If you're playing like cash games, just play Sergio. But I think it's close between those two. I'm not going to touch Fleetwood. I think we have already ruled out Case.
Oh God, don't mention Fleetwood anymore.
Yeah, no,
just don't.
We're done. We're done.
Why did Andrew on the 1s and 2s say that you love picking guys who crumble?
He said that about me?
Yeah, it's in Slack. I know you only check Slack once a week, but that's exactly what he said. And then producer Eamon has given us a 10-minute warning here.
Andrew.
Dude, he's oh God.
How dare you?
He goes, Louis. He goes, Henley at the Sony. Oh, dude has receipts, bro. Dude has receipts. Hey,
everyone gonna forget Luke List and Cam Smith from the start of the year. Okay, that's fine. Is that how we're gonna play it?
No, you and Reed have been great. And
that's how I'm starting lineups. All right, he's at the top. He's gonna go at the top. I don't care. All right, what range? Who else should we talk about?
I don't know. Well, I think you mentioned his name earlier, but you didn't really dive into it. And I kind of want to get into it a little more because it's been a name that has been really popular lately. And the only thing I can remember is his 5-shot collapse at the Honda in the first 3 or 4 holes. And that's your boy, Daniel Berger. He's got a pretty decent track record here, Jeff. Yep. He's got a pair of top 10s over his past 5 starts here. You mentioned this morning, I didn't want to call you out because we were live on national internet television. Okay. You said, because, if it wasn't for that monsoon, bro, the monsoon didn't start until the last 2 holes. And he lost that 5-shot lead in the first 3 or 4 or 5 holes, I think it was, including a double on the easiest par 5 on the course.
It's true.
But I get it. I get it. He's played well for the most part. He really has.
Yeah. I mean, Berger is just a player who, he's just one of the best iron players in the world. He's top 5. Yeah. It's not like top 3. I mean, you go back to the start of the COVID restart, back mid 2020, this dude has lost strokes on approach 4 times.
Damn.
In 40 starts.
That is unbelievable.
It's insane. And I think 2 or 3 of those times have all come at the Waste Management Phoenix Open. So it's been one course where he hasn't hit the ball well. He is so consistent, and he's a consistent player off the tee here. He's longer than I think people realize, and he doesn't even really have to be long this week. So
no,
with
that's
Berger,
a good point by you.
He can light it up on the greens. His putter can get hot. It can also get a little bit cold, but again, like a couple of these players I talk about, if his around the green shows up, and it did show up at the Honda, around the green really wasn't what killed him there. He just he just seemed to have a mental lapse where he's finding bunkers. And, the collapse at PGA National, and it's very much like TPC Sawgrass in that 2 bad shots are magnified at these Florida courses, man. It can go from good to bad in the span of 2 shots. Whereas in other courses, it's okay, you can kind of stop the bleeding. It can just get so ugly so quick out there that I don't know. It's just one of those things that people are going to overrate. It was a bad collapse, but I mean, they're just going to forget about how dominant he was through 3 3/4 round or 3 1/4 rounds. Right. So I think Daniel Berger is again, like a very underrated player. I think his consistency doesn't get enough like respect. He's won twice since the pandemic, restart as well, which I think people like don't really value enough when we've got guys like, Spieth at 9K. Even Hideki went like over like years without winning. And all these dudes are just way like more expensive than Daniel Berger, who's got like a pretty good track record. Berger's track record kind of reminds me of at TPC Sawgrass of Justin Thomas's. Like Thomas was consistent. He had made the cut 5 years in a row at Sawgrass. He put in some top finishes. Berger's the same, 2 top 10s, never missed the cut. Yes. Loves Florida golf, grew up here. I mean, I don't know. I think Berger is very ready to win a big event, and it would not shock me if it was this week.
Oh, for sure, dude. And we mentioned it on the sweat. We keep referencing the sweat this morning, like, ladies and gentlemen, 11 o'clock Eastern time, Monday through Friday. Me and this dude and Reed T. Fowler are talking golf, fantasy and betting. So find us on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter pages there of DraftKings. But his 4 career PGA Tour victories, talking about Daniel Berger here, dude, have all come on courses and places that emphasize driving accuracy over distance. And you referenced that this is not the longest par 72 like on the PGA Tour.
Let's even take that a step further. 2 of Daniel Berger's wins have come at TPC Southwind. Justin Thomas's last 2 PGA wins were at TPC Sawgrass and TPC Southwind, the home of the FedEx St. Jude WGC. Like that, I think TPC Southwind might be like the most. I know one's a par 70, the other's a par 72, but they're very similar, man. Like they have Bermuda greens. They're set up, as like tight par, tight courses with a lot of water with smaller greens. It's Daniel Berger's wheelhouse. And I like, the fact that TPC Sawgrass just laid out with some shorter, skinnier par 5s involved. I mean, that's fine. I mean, I think Berger is very in play. And like I said, a player you should have a lot of interest in. And I know the odds are kind of off the board right now in the DraftKings Sportsbook. I'm sure they'll be up soon, but Berger the last time, there they are. Oh wait, no, they're not.
No, not yet. 20,
not quite. Anyways, Berger at anything over plus 3,000, man, that's an instant bet for me this week. So
it's like, you could look at the history of this tournament, and as we mentioned, the golfers who have won it over the years, it is one of the most difficult tournaments to predict on a year-to-year basis.
Absolutely.
Like every season, like you and I can sit here, we can spit out numbers, we can spit out like stats and trends and all that stuff. But it goes back to what we've referenced multiple times in this show here on the Slate, a Monday edition of the Slate, is like, you're going to find great guys who have bad rounds. Like, what do you think about Brooks? Because when the odds were up right before our show, it opened, I think you mentioned he opened around like 40 to 1. He was at 35 to 1 at the time. I don't know what the odds are going to be. They're always subject to change when they pop back up. What's your feeling on him? Because is he going to get back to that between like 2017, 2019 form? Another guy who's been tough to read, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, I like Brooks this week too. Not quite as much as Berger, but like potentially almost as much. I mean, the missed cuts with Brooks just don't bother me as much because, like, I mean, it's not that he like ejects from tournaments, but you know that like Brooks is kind of just always like lurking, and if the game is a little bit off, it's not that big a deal. And he's got that mentality where he bounce back, and his last 2 missed cuts have produced really nice events the next 2 weeks, and you've kind of started to finally see a little bit of progression. The around the green at the Honda Classic was better. Again, a little bit like John Rahm, the putter hasn't really shown up for Brooks, and Brooks, it's an underrated part of his game. I mean, this dude is ice on the greens. Like when he's winning those majors and stuff, he sinks his 8-footers, his 10-footers. So if that shows up for him this week, I mean, he'll compete. I mean, it showed up for him at Phoenix for a couple rounds, and that's why he ended up T3 there. He wasn't even striking it that well, but I think he's actually progressed a little bit in that department. And I think he's coming in with the mentality of, I mean, like we talked about this earlier, he's not even in the top 10 players in the world right now. I mean, that bugs him. And look, bad weather, this is another Florida guy. I mean, I don't think he's going to be fazed by a little bit of wind and rain in Florida. So I think this is a pretty it's not like the bomber kind of US Open course that
No.
Brooks likes, but I think with tougher conditions, I think that it actually favors Brooks a little bit this year. I know when we saw, never mind. I had a thought, but it's gone. It's gone about a past winter. I think with the tougher conditions, it could play a little bit more US Open grinded out style, and I think that's in Brooks's favor. So I don't mind the tough conditions. We'll see if I'm correct or not about that, but. Brooks and Berger, man, that's probably how I'm starting. I don't know if I bet anyone.
The killer bees. The killer bees. Let's go.
And look, we don't have the winners odds up, but Brooks and Berger, they're both plus 800. No, excuse me. Actually, Berger's plus 800 for a top 10. Brooks is plus 900. So,
I like that number on Berger for a top 10 and get two top 10s in the last 5 starts.
There's nobody, we could make cases for, I think Cantlay you can make a good case for. Scheffler and Hovland coming up off good starts. And I honestly, if you were like to pick one, I honestly don't even mind betting Jon Rahm in the outright department this week. Again, we don't have his odds up right now for you, unfortunately, but plus 1,000, plus 1,200. I don't hate that, but my preferred start is Daniel Berger, Brooks Koepka, man. I think that's where the value is with the top guys.
I didn't realize Brooks hasn't won since last year's Phoenix Open. That just seems crazy. This will be his first Players, by the way, since 2019. So 2021 was injury. 2020 was scratched after like 18 holes because of COVID. But he has shown signs that I referenced earlier, becoming that 2017 to 2019 kind of guy. Oh God, we have like a minute left in this show. Go ahead and get it over with.
No, I was just going to point out that Louis had 19 birdies at the Honda Classic. And, if you're looking for a play, I don't think many people are going to use him this week. So
Reed hates him now.
If you want to just support Louis and his quest to finally win an event, I mean, he's there. So
no way. Stop it. We've talked about it countless times. That guy, if you bet on Louis to win, you have lost a lot of money. You've gotten close.
Okay. Last guy.
All right.
I am very intrigued by Alex Noren this week. 2 top 10s in his last 2 starts. Dude's won the Scottish Open. He a lot of his wins have come to like 8 under par. I mean, he's a grinder too, man. If Alex Noren is ever going to win a big event, it's going to come with weird weather on a course like TPC Sawgrass. His approach game is good. He can light it up around the greens. I'm telling you, if you want a player over like 90 to 1, 100 to 1 in the outright odds this week, and you really want to just, throw out a couple of, this is the dude. I mean, this is where my money will be going at 100 to 1 or bigger. So
yeah, he's
in play this week for sure.
Oh, bro, that's some serious value there in DFS this week. T6 at the Phoenix Open, T5 in his last start at the Honda. Okay. That guy's a grinder, man, huh? I like it.
He hits a ton of range balls, and his approach game has kind of been garbage for the last year and a half, but the last 3 events, it's really popped. And I mean, this guy's won a lot of events throughout his career. He's never won on the PGA, but he has won a lot. And when he gets in a zone, man, he will eventually break through. So I'm pretty positive on Noren this week too.
I like him. He kind of looks like Andrew on the 1s and 2s. So
Andrew and I aren't friends anymore. So I don't know.
Oh, okay. Yeah. He's like an older Andrew. Andrew's definitely more handsome than that. Sorry, Andrew. You're getting upset. All right. We got to go. Noren's best finish here, by the way, 10 in 2017. Great work. That flew by because we had such a great time and Reed wasn't here to interrupt. We will do this again Wednesday. We'll talk a lot of the betting odds since the winning odds were not available. But again, getting this Millie Maker for DraftKings, the Players Championship, $25 to enter, folks. If you win that, you get a ticket to the Tournament of Champions, or another $1 million is up for grabs. We love you, and we'll see you on Wednesday, okay? Adios.